It was John Donne who wrote Poor, intricated soul, riddling, perplexed, labyrinthical soul. Hello once again, I'm Don Jackson with the heartbeat of the internet. There is a way to negotiate the labyrinth of your mind, and these are the tools you will need: a cube, a ladder, and a horse. You just may end up finding someone you might have feared you had lost: yourself. Annie Gottlieb is the co-author of a book with Slobodan D. Peshek. The book is called The Cube, Keep the Secret, published by Harper, San Francisco. My wife and I played this game some years back and learned some remarkable things about each other. Gottlieb writes, and I quote, "The subconscious mind is poetic. It thinks in images, speaks to us in symbols that are loaded with personal meaning, if we can decipher them. This is the ancient truth Freud rediscovered in the interpretation of dreams." End quote. I watched an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It was called Phantasms, and this is exactly what the android Data was trying to accomplish in the 24th century. He was attempting to interpret the strange, cryptic images in nightmares that he experienced while running his internal dream program. In the episode, he devises a holodeck recreation of Sigmund Freud to help him interpret the meaning. Well, in the 21st century, we have no access to technology like the holodeck, but we're close. And Freud may not work for you either, but we do have the cube. The book is called The Cube, Keep the Secret, by Slobodan D. Peshek and Annie Gottlieb. Gottlieb goes on to write, and again I quote, "Every night, a serialist artist is turned loose within us to do the healing work of depicting the deeper truths of our lives. If only we could always remember and decode them. Unfortunately, many dreams slip away as we wake, taking their undelivered messages back into the depths with them. And of the ones we do remember, many are too complex and bizarre to understand. What if we could call on that inner artist with wide open eyes and order up a brief waking dream packed with valuable and accessible insights into ourselves?" That's exactly the purpose of a little imaginative exercise called The Cube, which I first learned in 1994 from a Serbian film director friend. Though it wasn't invented by a modern psychologist, the cube appeared mysteriously in Eastern Europe in the late 80s, and it may be an ancient spiritual riddle from the Middle East. It works on the same principle as dream interpretation or Rorschach ink blots. The images you see are revealing projections of your own psyche. End quote. Gottlieb sets us up for the exercise to follow. And again I quote, "The cube asks you to imagine 5 objects, one by one, in a desert landscape. They're the same 5 objects for everyone, but you will picture and arrange yours in your own unique way, unlike anyone else's. Only when you have completed your scene will you find out what each of the 5 objects stands for, and then you will discover that you have daydreamed a precise and perceptive little portrait of your own life, a source of surprising insight into yourself and your relationships." End quote. So I'd like to try this with you as we continue to listen to the heartbeat of the internet. Let's start with the Annie Gottlieb begins, and again I quote, Step 1. Picture a desert. Step 2. Now imagine that there's a cube in the desert. Do you see it? How big is it? What color? Does it look smooth or rough to the touch? What's it made of, if you can tell? Is it solid or hollow? Close to you or far away? Is it sitting flat on the sand or in some other position? Your cube is as one of a kind as your fingerprints. Think of it as your soul print. Before you go on with this exercise, write down at least 5 vivid adjectives descriptive of your cube. For instance, if your cube is made of steel, like mine, you might write tough, bright, reflecting, refined, stressed. If it's made of finished wood with a beautiful grain, you might think of natural, warm, smooth, glowing, flowing, classy, nice to touch. End quote. So I'll let you do that. 5 adjectives concerning your cube, and then we'll add the rest of the images shortly. Okay, you've pictured the desert, you've pictured your cube, and you've come up with the adjectives to describe the cube. Annie Gottlieb goes on with the next step in this incredible game. Step 3. Now picture a ladder in the desert. Where is it in relation to your cube? What's your ladder made of? Is it a step ladder or a straight ladder? Does it have a lot of rungs or a few? Step 4. Now bring some life and motion into the picture. Add a horse. What kind of horse do you see in your desert? What color? Where is it relative to the cube and ladder? And what's it doing? Is it wearing a saddle or bridle or not? Step 5. Somewhere in the desert is a storm. Where do you see it? What kind of storm is it? And does it affect the cube, ladder, and horse, or not? Step 6. Finally, there are flowers in your desert. Are they clustered or scattered? Are there lots or just a few? Where are they? What kind? What color? Now you are ready to decode and interpret your waking dream. Now, before I give you the very simple interpretation of all the images, this is how some people pictured their cubes. Annie Gottlieb writes, mine was as big as a small house, made of solid stainless steel and floating. Gloria Steinem's is transparent, almost immaterial, standing or floating on one of its points near the horizon. Actor Willem Dafoe's is knee-high and made of heavy, clear plastic, like a joke ice cube. Erica Jean's is a 1-foot alphabet block with red, blue, and yellow letters spelling out her name. And these are only a few of the infinite possibilities. And don't be surprised if you or someone you know choose a Rubik's Cube. Some did. Now at first, I thought of those small cube structures, each perched precariously on the building's points at the bottom of the Don Valley Parkway in Toronto. They've been there for years. Think about it, if you're from the Toronto area, you might have seen them yourself. Now I'll give you a few moments more to ensure your scene is exactly the way you want it to be. So here is what each symbol means, and be ready to be shocked if you haven't figured them out already. The desert is the world as you see it. The cube is you, your self-portrait. Your list of adjectives describes you. The ladder is your friends. The horse is your lover. The storm is trouble and challenge. It can be positive. The flowers are children or work. They can be anything you create or nurture, from paintings to patience to pets. End quote. Take a look at how you put the entire scenario together and see if any of it makes sense to you. I've also been playing a very subtle game with you during the course of this program. I hope you've noticed the cube design in a lot of these music videos. If you have missed it, you may want to watch this webcast again. My wife and I learned a lot about each other and how we see each other when we did this little game. Chances are, though, that you will only ever be able to do this quiz once, but you can try it with those you love, friends, co-workers. Annie Gottlieb writes, and again I quote, "Once you know your cube is you, it's true you can't recreate it with quite the same innocence. And surely, if you'd done the exercise at another time in your life, the picture would have been different. You may have changed horses, for instance. Your cube does have a life of its own, just as your dreams do, and it may change. Glance at it again next week or next month. If it has changed, consider how you've changed." End quote. The name of the book, once again, is The Cube, Keep the Secret, written by Slobodan Dipeshik with Annie Gottlieb, and published by Harper, San Francisco. I'd love to hear what this exercise told you about yourself. Good night, sweet dreams of cubes, ladders, horses, and flowers. I'm Don Jackson.